I was adjusting my tie in the mirror, trying to look perfect for my role as best man, when Emma burst through the door of the bridal suite. Her wedding dress was flawless, her makeup done to perfection, but her eyes were wild with panic. "Ryan," she whispered, her voice shaking, "I need to tell you something before I walk down that aisle." What she said next didn't just stop my heart, it shattered everything I thought I knew about our 10-year friendship. Some confessions come too late, and some truths destroy more than just weddings. If you want to know what Emma confessed with just 2 hours before saying I do to someone else, hit that like button and subscribe for stories that will leave you speechless. Emma Rodriguez and I met during our sophomore year of college when she literally crashed into my life. I was carrying a tower of textbooks across campus when she came flying around the corner on her skateboard, sending both of us and my book sprawling across the sidewalk. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she laughed, even as she was picking gravel out of her palms. "I'm still learning how to stop on this thing." Looking at her then, dark curls escaping from under a backwards baseball cap, bright green eyes sparkling with mischief, completely unbothered by the chaos she just caused, I was instantly charmed. Emma had this energy about her, this fearless joy that drew people in like a magnet. "How about I buy you coffee to make up for nearly killing you?" she offered, dusting off her ripped jeans. That coffee turned into hours of conversation. Emma was studying journalism, wanted to travel the world writing about social issues, and had opinions about absolutely everything. She was passionate, funny, and completely unfiltered in the best way. By the end of that first day, I knew she was going to be important in my life. We became inseparable almost immediately. Emma was the friend who would show up at my dorm at midnight with takeout and terrible movies when I was stressed about exams. I was the one she called when she needed someone to drive her to the emergency room after she tried to skateboard down the library steps. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well. Our friendship was easy, natural, and completely platonic, or so I told myself. Sure, I noticed that Emma was beautiful. I noticed how she bit her lip when she was concentrating, how she threw her head back when she laughed, how she always smelled like vanilla and adventure. But she was my best friend, and I convinced myself that's all she'd ever be. After graduation, we both moved to Chicago. Emma got a job at a local newspaper, and I started working at an architecture firm. We lived in apartments 6 blocks apart and saw each other almost every day. Weekend brunches, movie nights, long walks along the lakefront, we had the kind of friendship that everyone envied. Then, 3 years ago, Emma started dating Michael Chen. He was everything I wasn't: tall where I was average height, confident where I was quietly thoughtful, successful in finance where I was passionate about designing buildings. Michael swept Emma off her feet with expensive dinners, weekend trips to his family's cabin, and grand romantic gestures. I watched Emma fall in love with Michael, and I convinced myself I was happy for her. When she'd gush about their dates or show me pictures from their trips, I'd smile and nod and ignore the weird twist in my stomach. When Michael proposed to her on the beach in Santa Monica last year, I was the first person she called. "Ryan," she screamed into the phone. "He proposed. I'm getting married. I can't believe it." I told her I was thrilled for her. I even helped her celebrate that night, toasting to her future happiness while something inside me quietly broke. Why was I so conflicted about my best friend's happiness? And what was I refusing to admit to myself about my feelings for Emma? Let me know what you think in the comments. The year of wedding planning was torture disguised as celebration. Emma threw herself into every detail with the same passionate intensity she brought to everything else. She wanted me involved in everything, tasting cakes, giving opinions on flower arrangements, helping her choose between invitation fonts that looked identical to me. "You're my best friend," she'd say when I'd try to bow out of another wedding-related activity. "I need your honest opinion about everything." The worst part was that she seemed genuinely happy. Emma glowed during those months, constantly talking about her future with Michael, their plans for the house they'd buy, the trips they'd take, the family they'd start. And I played my role perfectly, the supportive best friend who was thrilled for her happiness. But late at night, alone in my apartment, I couldn't ignore the truth anymore. I was in love with Emma Rodriguez, and I had been for years. Every smile she gave Michael, every excited conversation about their future, every wedding detail we planned together felt like a knife twisting in my chest. The realization hit me fully about 6 months before the wedding. We were at her apartment, addressing save-the-date cards, when she suddenly looked up at me with this soft smile. "You know what I'm most excited about," she said, tucking a curl behind her ear. "What?" I asked, dreading the answer. "Having you as Michael's best man. It means so much to me that my two favorite people in the world will be standing up there together." I should have been honored. Instead, I felt sick. The idea of standing at that altar, watching the woman I loved promise herself to another man, was almost unbearable. But what could I say? That I'd been lying to myself and to her for years? That I was in love with her and couldn't stand to watch her marry someone else? "I'm honored you chose me," I managed to say, and her smile made my heart break a little more. The closer we got to the wedding date, the more conflicted I became. There were moments, small ones, where I wondered if Emma felt something too. Like when she'd touch my arm while we were talking, letting her hand linger just a second longer than necessary. Or how she'd sometimes get quiet and thoughtful when we were together, looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. But then Michael would show up, and Emma would light up in a way that made it clear she was completely committed to marrying him. He'd wrap his arms around her from behind, and she'd melt into him with such natural ease that I'd feel foolish for imagining anything else. 2 weeks before the wedding, Emma asked me to meet her for coffee. She seemed nervous, fidgeting with her engagement ring and avoiding eye contact. "Ryan, I need to ask you something," she said finally. "And I need you to be completely honest with me." My heart stopped. "What is it?" She took a deep breath. "Do you think I'm making a mistake?" What was I supposed to say to that question? And why was Emma suddenly having doubts about marrying Michael? Share your thoughts below. I stared at Emma across that coffee shop table, my mind racing. She was asking me if she was making a mistake marrying Michael, the question I'd been silently asking myself for months. But what was I supposed to say? That yes, she was making a mistake because I was secretly in love with her? "Why are you asking me that?" I said carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Because you're the only person who really knows me, Ryan. You've known me for 10 years. You've seen me at my worst and my best. And lately, I keep thinking about things. What kind of things? She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing her mascara slightly. Like how Michael and I never really talk, you know? Not the way you and I talk. We discuss logistics, who's picking up the dry cleaning, what time we need to leave for his work events, whether we want hardwood floors or carpet in the new house. But we don't really connect. I wanted to reach across the table and take her hand, but I forced myself to stay still. Emma, pre-wedding nerves are normal. You're about to make a huge commitment. Are they? She asked, her voice small. Because when I picture my future, when I really think about being happy, you're always in it. Not just as a friend, but... God, I don't know what I'm saying. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure she could hear it. Emma. Forget it, she said quickly, shaking her head. I'm being ridiculous. Michael loves me, and I love him. We have a good life planned together. I'm just getting cold feet. But I could see something in her eyes that looked like regret, and it killed me. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of final wedding preparations. Emma threw herself into last-minute details with manic energy, and I played along, helping with whatever she needed while dying a little inside. She didn't bring up our coffee conversation again, and I convinced myself it had just been pre-wedding anxiety. The night before the wedding, Michael threw his bachelor party at an upscale bar downtown. It was everything you'd expect: expensive whiskey, cigars, his finance friends telling stories about their own marriages and making jokes about the old ball and chain. I stood at the edge of the group, nursing my drink and watching Michael hold court. He was handsome, successful, confident, everything any woman would want in a husband. But as I watched him, I realized something that made my stomach twist with guilt. I didn't just love Emma more than Michael did. I knew her better than Michael did. Michael saw Emma as this perfect woman to fit into his perfect life plan. But I knew that Emma sometimes ate cereal for dinner when she was too tired to cook. I knew she cried during commercials with dogs in them. I knew she dreamed of writing a novel someday but was too scared to try. I knew her in ways Michael never seemed interested in knowing her. The wedding was in 12 hours, and I was starting to wonder if staying silent was really the right thing to do. Was I being a good friend by keeping my feelings to myself, or was I making a mistake by not fighting for the woman I loved? What would you do in my situation? The morning of the wedding dawned perfect: clear blue sky, warm sunshine, not a cloud in sight. I woke up in my hotel room feeling like I was about to attend a funeral instead of a celebration. In 6 hours, Emma would be Mrs. Michael Chen, and I would have to smile and pretend my heart wasn't breaking. I spent the morning helping Michael with last-minute groomsman duties, making sure everyone had their boutonnieres, coordinating transportation to the church, playing the role of the perfect best man. Michael was relaxed and confident, joking with his groomsmen and checking his watch occasionally like he was eager to get the show started. "Thanks for everything, man," Michael said to me as we straightened our ties in the mirror. "Emma was right to choose you as my best man. You've been a good friend to both of us." I forced a smile. "Just want you both to be happy." "We will be," he said with the kind of certainty that made me envious. "Emma and I, we make sense together. We want the same things, we fit into each other's lives perfectly. It's going to be a good marriage." The way he talked about Emma like she was a perfect puzzle piece for his life rather than the complex, passionate, unpredictable woman I knew her to be made something inside me snap. But what could I say? It was his wedding day. An hour before the ceremony, I excused myself to check on Emma. The bridal suite was chaos, her mother and bridesmaids fluttering around, making final adjustments to her dress, touching up her makeup, spraying her with perfume. Emma looked absolutely stunning. Her dress was simple and elegant, her dark hair swept up with small flowers woven through it, her makeup flawless. But when she caught sight of me in the mirror, something flickered in her eyes, relief, maybe, or desperation. "Can everyone give us a minute?" she said suddenly. "I need to talk to Ryan about something." Her mother frowned. "Emma, honey, we don't have much time. Just a minute, Mom. Please." After everyone filed out, Emma turned to face me, and I saw that her hands were shaking. "I can't do this," she whispered. My world stopped. "What?" "I can't marry him, Ryan." I thought I could. I tried to convince myself it was right, but I can't walk down that aisle and promise to love him forever when. She took a shuddering breath. "When what?" I asked, though part of me was terrified to hear the answer. Emma looked directly into my eyes, and what she said next changed everything. "When I'm in love with you." The words hung in the air between us like a confession that could destroy everything. Emma stood there in her wedding dress, tears threatening to ruin her perfect makeup, having just admitted she was in love with me an hour before she was supposed to marry another man. "Emma," I breathed, my voice barely audible. "You can't, we can't, there are 300 people downstairs waiting for you to get married." "I know," she said, tears spilling over now. "I know how insane this is. I know the timing is terrible. But I couldn't walk down that aisle without telling you the truth. I've been in love with you for years, Ryan. Years. And I convinced myself that what Michael and I had was enough, that love was supposed to be practical and safe, but it's not. It's supposed to feel like this." She stepped closer to me, and I could smell her perfume, see the desperation in her green eyes. "Like what?" I whispered. "Like I can't breathe when you're not around. Like every good thing that happens to me doesn't feel real until I tell you about it. Like the best part of my day is making you laugh. Like I've been lying to myself for 10 years because I was too scared to risk our friendship." My hands were shaking as I reached up to wipe the tears from her cheeks. "Emma, I've been in love with you since the day you crashed into me on that skateboard. But you're about to marry Michael. You have a life planned with him. I can't. I can't be the reason you destroy all of that." "You're not destroying anything," she said fiercely. "I am. I'm the one who said yes to Michael when I knew, deep down, that my heart belonged to someone else. I'm the one who planned a wedding to a man I love but am not in love with. I'm the one who's been too much of a coward to admit the truth." There was a knock on the door. "Emma, honey?" Her mother's voice. "5 more minutes, and then we need to get you downstairs." Emma and I stared at each other, both of us breathing hard. The weight of 10 years of unspoken feelings, of missed opportunities, of love hidden behind friendship, filled the space between us. What do we do? I asked. Emma's eyes searched mine. I don't know. But I know I can't marry Michael feeling like this. I know I can't promise to love him forever when I'm standing there thinking about you. And I know that if I walk down that aisle, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Another knock, more urgent this time. Emma, we really need to go. Tell me you love me, Emma whispered. Tell me I'm not imagining that you feel this too. How could I respond to that? And what happens when you realize the love of your life is wearing a wedding dress meant for someone else? I looked into Emma's eyes, this woman who had been my best friend for 10 years, who was standing before me in a wedding dress asking me to confirm what she already knew in her heart. I love you, I said, my voice breaking. I've loved you for so long that I forgot what it felt like not to love you. I love the way you bite your lip when you're thinking. I love how you cry during dog commercials. I love your terrible cooking and your beautiful dreams and the way you make everything in my life better just by being in it. Emma let out a sob that was half relief, half heartbreak. Then what do we do? How do we fix this? Before I could answer, her mother knocked again, more insistently. Emma, everyone is waiting. Emma and I stared at each other, the weight of our confession and the impossibility of our situation crushing down on us. 300 guests, a devastated groom, months of planning, thousands of dollars spent all waiting downstairs for a wedding that might not happen. I have to tell Michael, Emma said suddenly. I can't leave him standing at the altar not knowing why. He deserves better than that. Emma, maybe we should think about this dash. No, she said firmly, wiping her eyes. I've spent too many years not being honest about my feelings. I won't start my marriage or end it with lies. What happened next was the most painful and courageous thing I've ever witnessed. Emma walked downstairs, still in her wedding dress, and asked to speak privately with Michael. I watched from the church balcony as she led him to a quiet corner and told him the truth. I couldn't hear what she said, but I saw Michael's face go from confusion to shock to devastation. I saw him look up at me, standing in the balcony, and the betrayal in his eyes made me feel sick. But I also saw him nod, saw him take Emma's hands one last time, saw him kiss her forehead like he was saying goodbye. The wedding was called off, of course. Guests were informed that there had been a change of heart, and while the reception dinner still happened, Emma's practical mother wasn't about to let all that food go to waste. It felt more like a wake than a celebration. Emma and I left together that night, both of us still in our formal clothes, walking through the city streets in stunned silence. We'd gotten what we thought we wanted each other, but it had come at such a devastating cost. What happens now? Emma asked as we sat on a bench overlooking the lake. I don't know, I admitted. But I know I want to find out with you. 2 years later, Emma and I are planning our own wedding, a small ceremony with just close family and friends who supported us through the chaos of that day. It wasn't easy rebuilding trust with people who felt betrayed by how things ended with Michael, and Emma struggled with guilt for months. But we learned that real love isn't just about finding the right person, it's about finding the courage to be honest about your feelings before it's too late. Michael eventually forgave us both, though it took time. He's engaged now to someone who loves him the way he deserves to be loved. Emma writes for a travel magazine now, living the dream she almost gave up for a safe marriage. And me? I'm just grateful we finally stopped lying to ourselves about what we really wanted. If you enjoyed this story about love, timing, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories that remind us why following your heart is always worth the risk.